I was buttoning up my navy peacoat, the one with the worn brass buttons that my mother gave me before she passed, when my phone lit up with a text that would save my life. The message was from my lawyer, Richard Brennan, and it contained just 7 words that made my blood run cold. "Call me now, don't go there. I'm Ariana Waylett. I'm 35 years old, and for the past 3 years, I've been rebuilding my life after a divorce that felt like surviving a tornado in a trailer park. You know the kind, where you're left standing in your underwear, wondering where your roof went and why the neighbor's cow is in your kitchen." Before I continue, I want to thank each of you listening right now. If this story resonates with you, please hit that like button and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is there. I love knowing we're connected across the world at different moments of the day. My relationship with my oldest daughter, Emma, had been strained since the divorce. She was 19 then, old enough to choose sides, and she chose her father's. Every Sunday dinner at her apartment was my attempt to bridge that gap, armed with her favorite dessert and enough hope to fill the Grand Canyon. But today, something was different. Richard's voice crackled through the phone, urgent and breathless. "Ariana, whatever you do, don't go to Emma's apartment. I'm sending you something. Are you sitting down?" The video he sent was grainy security footage from Emma's building, dated yesterday. There were 3 men I didn't recognize carrying boxes into her apartment. But what made my stomach drop wasn't the strangers. It was the familiar silver BMW parked outside Marcus's car. My ex-husband, who hadn't bothered to attend a single family event in 2 years, was suddenly helping our daughter move furniture? "Richard, what is this about?" I asked, though part of me already knew this wasn't about Swedish meatballs and catching up. "Your daughter filed some interesting documents with the court last week," he said carefully. "Ariana, I've been doing this for 30 years, and what I'm seeing, your daughter isn't planning a dinner party. She's planning an ambush." The peacoat suddenly felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. 6 months ago, my mother passed away after a brief battle with cancer. She was the kind of woman who kept her financial cards closer to her chest than a poker player in Vegas. So when her will revealed, she'd left me everything. The house in Connecticut, the investment portfolio, and a surprising amount of cash. Even I was shocked. We're talking about the woman who used tea bags twice and saved aluminum foil like it was gold bullion. What Emma didn't know was that there was a second will, one that would have changed everything if she'd just waited. But patience, apparently, wasn't hereditary. Richard's investigation uncovered something that would have been hilarious if it wasn't so disturbing. Emma had hired a financial advisor named Dr. Cornelius Wellington. Sounds fancy, right? Turns out his real name was Brad Plotkin from Newark, and his doctorate was from the Universal Life Church, the same place where my cousin got ordained to marry people for $50. This Brad character, Richard said, he's got a record longer than a CVS receipt. He specializes in family financial manipulation. Your daughter found him in some online forum about recovering stolen inheritances. Can you believe that? There's actually a forum for that. The parallel dramas were piling up like dirty laundry. Marcus, who hadn't paid child support in 18 months, was suddenly Father of the Year, texting Emma daily about reconnecting with family. His new wife, Patricia, just happened to be a paralegal who specialized in elder law and competency hearings. What a coincidence, right? About as coincidental as finding a vegetarian at a bacon festival. Richard's next revelation hit harder. "Ariana, I had my tech guy check some things. Emma's been recording your conversations for months. Every phone call, every visit, she bought one of those spy pen recorders on Amazon. $29.99 with free shipping." I thought back to our recent conversations. Emma's sudden interest in my health, buying me vitamins, suggesting I see a therapist for divorce trauma, asking if I ever felt confused or forgetful. I'd thought she was being caring. Turns out she was building a case. "She's trying to prove you're mentally incompetent," Richard said flatly. "If she can do that, she can take control of your mother's estate as your next of kin." The guest list for tonight's dinner read like a casting call for a courtroom drama. Emma had invited her father's golf buddy who happened to be a psychiatrist, 2 neighbors who barely knew me but would swear they'd seen concerning behavior, and Patricia's sister, who was a social worker. It was like she'd assembled the Avengers of character assassination. Richard pulled up more security footage, this time from yesterday afternoon. There was Emma, clear as day, using her spare key to enter my house while I was at work. She stayed for 47 minutes. Want to bet she wasn't watering your plants? Richard asked with grim humor. My best friend Sarah called while I was processing this. Her voice was shaking. Ari, I need to tell you something. Emma came to see me last week. She was asking all these questions about your behavior, if you'd been drinking more. If you seemed paranoid, I told her you were fine, but she kept pushing. She said she was worried about you. The vitamins Emma bought me suddenly seemed sinister. The therapy recommendation felt like a trap. Even her suggestion that I start journaling, "It's so good for your mental health, Mom," was probably an attempt to get written evidence of my supposed decline. If you're enjoying this story, please take a second to subscribe and hit that like button. Your support means everything to me and helps me keep sharing these stories. The crown jewel of Emma's plan was the intervention scheduled for tonight. Dr. Morrison, the psychiatrist, had already been briefed on my symptoms. The social worker had forms ready. They even had a treatment facility picked out, one that would conveniently require someone to manage my affairs while I was getting help. Patricia had coached Emma perfectly. Every text message where I'd expressed frustration about the divorce, every joke about needing wine after a hard day, every time I'd forgotten to return a call, it was all being weaponized into evidence of mental decline. But here's where she messed up, Richard said, and I could hear the satisfaction in his voice. Your doorbell camera caught her yesterday. She's on video planting something in your house, and those credit cards she opened in your name, she used her own laptop to apply for them. The IP address leads right back to her apartment. The trap was elaborate, but it had holes. The question was, should I walk into it anyway? My younger daughter Lily called while I was sitting in my car, still parked in my driveway, the engine running like I was the getaway driver in my own life story. She was crying so hard I could barely understand her. Mom, I know what Emma's doing. She offered me $50,000. $50,000. She said it would be mine after you got the help you needed. I told her she was insane, and she said that's exactly what you would say because mental illness runs in families. Despite everything, I had to laugh. Only $50,000? Honey, my crazy is worth at least $100,000. I'm insulted by these bargain basement prices. Lily's laugh was watery but real. Mom, what are we going to do? That's when the counterplan started forming. If Emma wanted to play chess, I'd show her what happens when you challenge someone who taught you the game. Richard had his tech specialist set up a recording app on my phone that would upload directly to a cloud server. Everything that happened at dinner would be documented. My smart doorbell had already captured Emma planting evidence. Turned out she'd hidden empty vodka bottles in my closet and planted confused diary entries in my desk drawer. The handwriting was close to mine, but she'd pressed too hard with the pen, a tell I recognized from when she used to forge my signature on permission slips in high school. You could skip the dinner, Richard suggested. We have enough to file charges now. But I knew Emma. If I didn't show up, she'd spin it as paranoid behavior. Maybe even claim I was having a breakdown. No, I needed to give her enough rope to hang herself with, or in this case, enough organic, locally sourced, gluten-free rope, because even her traps were pretentious. Marcus texted while I was preparing. Why are you being so difficult about family time? Emma just wants us all together. I texted back, of course. Family is everything. Let him think I was playing along. The recording device was smaller than a button, hidden in my brooch, the one my mother had worn to every Sunday dinner for 40 years. Somehow, that felt like poetic justice. Mom always said the women in our family were fighters. Tonight, I'd prove that inheritance wasn't just about money. I'm going to the dinner, I told Richard. Ariana, are you sure? They want a show. I'll give them a performance worthy of an Oscar, or at least worthy of a Golden Globe. Let's not get crazy, no pun intended. As I drove toward Emma's apartment, I thought about the text that had started this all. Sometimes salvation comes in 7 words from a lawyer who bills by the hour, but still takes time to save your life. The trap was set. The question was, who was really walking into it? Emma's apartment smelled like rosemary and betrayal, with a hint of that expensive candle she always lit when she was trying to impress someone. The dining room looked like a stage set for Concerned Family, the musical. Every face turned toward me with rehearsed worry, like they'd been practicing their expressions in a mirror. "Mom, you made it!" Emma hugged me, and I could feel the recording pen in her pocket pressing against my ribs. "We were so worried when you didn't answer your phone for 5 minutes. Dr. Morrison sat at the head of the table like he was conducting a symphony of manipulation. He had that carefully cultivated gray beard that screamed, "Trust me, I'm wise," and a clipboard that might as well have had commitment papers written across the top in neon letters. "Mrs. Whalett, so wonderful to finally meet you," he said, standing to shake my hand. His palm was sweaty. "Amateur. Emma's told me so much about you." The cast was all there. Patricia perched like a vulture in Versace, Marcus trying to look concerned while checking his phone for football scores, the neighbors who suddenly cared deeply about my well-being, and the social worker who kept fidgeting with her official-looking folder. Emma served dinner, her infamous dried chicken that could have been used as kindling, accompanied by quinoa that looked like someone had already eaten it once. Even evil has standards, but apparently, seasoning isn't one of them. "Mom, we're all here because we love you," Emma began, and I had to admire her commitment to the performance. Real tears and everything. She'd learned well from the 3 months of high school drama club before she quit because the other kids weren't serious enough about the craft. The accusations came like a well-rehearsed playlist. The shopping sprees, those credit cards she'd maxed out in my name, the paranoia, me asking why she was recording our calls, the isolation, me protecting myself from this circus, each concern carefully crafted to paint a picture of decline. "I found 5 empty vodka bottles in her closet last week," Emma said, voice breaking. "And these diary entries. Mom, you wrote that the television was talking to you. I wanted to point out that the TV does talk to me. It's called Netflix asking if I'm still watching. But this wasn't the time for jokes." Marcus finally looked up from his phone. "I've been worried, too. Ariana seems different, erratic. She accused me of conspiring against her. The man who forgot our anniversary 7 years running suddenly had perfect recall of my supposed symptoms." Dr. Morrison leaned forward. "Mrs. Whalett, would you say you've been feeling overwhelmed lately? Perhaps confused?" That's when I gave them what they wanted. I let my eyes well up, my hands shake just enough to be noticeable. I don't understand what's happening. Why is everyone looking at me like that? "Emma, honey, what's wrong? Did I do something?" The room practically vibrated with excitement. They thought they had me. "Mom," Emma said, reaching for my hand, "we think you need help. Professional help. There's a wonderful facility." That's when I started to cry. Big dramatic tears that would have made my high school drama teacher proud. While my face was buried in my hands, I spotted them on Emma's desk. Legal documents with power of attorney visible at the top, already partially filled out with my information. My breakdown was Oscar-worthy. I sobbed about feeling confused, admitted to being forgetful, even threw in some rambling about my mother's spirit visiting me. Every word was being recorded. By them and by me. Emma got cocky. That was always her weakness, even in chess. When she thought she was winning, she'd stop paying attention to the whole board. "It's okay, Mom. Once you sign these papers, I'll take care of everything. The house, the money, your medical care. You won't have to worry about anything anymore." Patricia couldn't help herself. We've been noticing these symptoms for almost a year now." That's when Lily walked in, my baby girl, all 5'2" of righteous fury, carrying a cake box and wearing her law school sweatshirt like armor. "Sorry I'm late to the intervention," she announced cheerfully. "Traffic was crazy. Hey, Mom, you look terrible. Are they doing the mental health ambush already? Emma, you said 8 p.m. Emma's face went white. "Lily, what are you— Oh, was I not supposed to mention the $50,000 you offered me? My bad. Hey, Dr. Morrison, did Emma tell you she diagnosed Mom using WebMD and Reddit forums? Super professional." I excused myself to the bathroom, still playing confused and shaky. Once inside, I forwarded everything to Richard. The recordings, the photos of the documents, Emma's admission about the money and the house, all of it uploaded to the cloud faster than Emma's credit card applications. When I came back, Emma was in full damage control mode. Lily's confused. She's been under a lot of stress with school. "The only thing I'm stressed about," Lily interrupted, is my sister trying to institutionalize our mother for money. Also, Emma, you might want to check your phone. The beauty of modern technology is that when you commit fraud using your devices, they tend to keep receipts. Richard had worked with law enforcement to freeze the fraudulent credit cards and track the IP addresses. The police were already on their way. Emma's phone started buzzing, then Patricia's, then Marcus's. What did you do? Emma hissed at me, the mask finally slipping. I dropped the act completely, standing up straight, wiping away the fake tears. What did I do? Sweetheart, I gave you exactly what you wanted. A performance. Every word recorded, including your admission about planning this for a year, forging documents, and trying to steal your grandmother's inheritance. The doorbell rang. Not the police yet, just Richard, my wonderful, brilliant lawyer, holding a folder thick with evidence. Good evening, everyone, he said pleasantly. Before anyone leaves, you should know that attempted fraud, elder abuse, identity theft, and conspiracy charges are very serious, but please finish your quinoa. It would be a shame to waste it, though honestly it might be considered cruel and unusual punishment. The police arrived just as Dr. Morrison was trying to explain that he'd been misled about the situation. Turns out, when you cooperate with fraudulent commitment proceedings, the medical board gets very interested in your license. Emma's arrest was almost anticlimactic. She went from tears to rage to bargaining in about 30 seconds, the emotional equivalent of speed running the 5 stages of grief. You don't understand. She stole my inheritance. Grandma would have wanted me to have it. Actually, Richard said, pulling out another document, your grandmother left a second will. If you had waited until your 25th birthday without any criminal activity, you would have inherited everything directly. It was meant to teach you patience and integrity. Guess that lesson didn't take. Marcus tried to slink out, but was stopped by an officer. Turns out, when you investigate one fraud, you often find others. His tax returns for the past 5 years suddenly became very interesting to the IRS. Patricia, the paralegal mastermind, faced disbarment and charges of her own. Who knew that coaching someone to commit elder fraud was frowned upon in legal circles? Dr. Wellington, aka Brad from Newark, was arrested at a Wendy's 3 towns over. He'd been running the same scam on 7 other families. Emma had paid him $10,000, borrowed from those fraudulent credit cards, for his expertise. The neighbors slunk away like cats who'd been caught in the garbage. The social worker claimed she'd been told this was a legitimate intervention, but couldn't explain why she'd pre-signed forms declaring me incompetent. Lily stood next to me the whole time, holding my hand. Mom, I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. Baby, you told me exactly when I needed to know. Emma's final words before they put her in the police car were, "This isn't over." Actually, I called back, "It is. Your grandmother always said that greed makes people stupid. Thanks for proving her right." The aftermath was swift. Emma lost her job when her employer found out about the fraud charges. Her apartment, paid for with my mother's money she'd assumed she'd inherit, had to be given up. She moved in with Marcus and his soon-to-be ex-wife, Patricia, in their studio apartment. 3 criminals in 500 square feet. Now that's justice, with a side of karma. The online support group Emma had joined for survivors of narcissistic mothers expelled her when the arrest became public. Turns out even toxic forums have standards about not committing actual crimes against your parents. 3 months later, I was hosting a real Sunday dinner. Lily had made her grandmother's lasagna, the recipe Emma never had the patience to learn. Sarah brought wine that we could drink without it becoming evidence of mental decline. Richard stopped by with his wife, having become more friend than lawyer through this ordeal. "Any word from Emma?" Sarah asked gently. "She's doing community service at a senior center," I said, and couldn't help the irony in my voice. 300 hours of helping elderly people manage their affairs. The judge has a sense of humor. Marcus was under federal investigation. The IRS found he'd been hiding assets during our divorce, money that should have gone to child support. Patricia left him when she realized being married to him wasn't worth losing her career. She's now working at a Subway and living with her mother, who apparently asks daily how someone so smart could be so stupid. Brad from Newark, our fake Dr. Wellington, got 5 years and had to pay restitution to all his victims. He's teaching yoga in prison now, which seems about right for his level of authenticity. I've been seeing a therapist, I admitted to my dinner guest.